I told you that the key to unlocking your full potential as a student athlete is already within your grasp, but most people are overlooking it? In today's episode, we're joined by NIL pioneer Mark Koesterer, who reveals the untapped opportunities hidden within your name, image, and likeness. Discover how you can transform your athletic career and build an influential brand and secure your future. This conversation could redefine your path to success. Don't miss out on the secret that could change everything. We will talk more about this with Mark right after this message from my sponsor. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Full Court Dreams, the Underdog's voice, is proudly sponsored by Rehab to Perform. Are pain or injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Our friends at Rehab to Perform have you covered. Now open in Owings Mills with 9 other locations across the DMV. R2P will get you back in the game and ready to perform. Visit rehabtoperform.com and start your journey to peak performance today. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Full Court Dreams, the Underdog's voice. And this is a very special episode that you do not want to miss. The podcast where we dive into the world of sports, life skills, and the power of perseverance. I'm your host, Coach Q. And today we have a special guest who's revolutionizing how student athletes approach their name, image, and likeness rights. Please welcome Mark Koesterer. See, I told you I was going to get the message.
No worries. Call me Mark. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. So, Mark, he's a renowned speaker, author, and thought leader in the NIL field. So, Mark, it's great to have you on the show today. How you doing? How you been?
Good. Thank you, Coach. Very nice to meet you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, I got to ask you a question that I ask everybody else that come on the show, all my athletes. So, Mark, what is your meaning of an underdog, especially in the context of NIL and your work with student athletes?
Yeah, so, an underdog to me is someone that people don't think should achieve, people don't think should win, people don't think should be successful. That may be a perception that's true because of statistics, because of past history, because of social media, but that may not be true because all of those measuring sticks don't measure someone's heart, someone's attitude, someone's energy, someone's intent. And I think younger kids, there's so many variables, specifically to physical size and ability, that sometimes the kid that's the smallest guy on the team in 9th grade is the biggest guy on the team in 12th grade.
Right.
But to me, an underdog is someone that people don't expect to be successful and overachieves to those people's expectations.
Oh, excellent, man. That's an excellent meaning. Excellent meaning, and straight to the point. Now, I think it's a wonderful meaning also, but I think the statistics gets it wrong because I think a lot of underdogs come out on top. A lot of them come out on top. So great meaning, great. I really like that. I really like that. So let's get into it. So, you got you got a really good background and from being a college athlete yourself to having 4 kids that was college athletes. So how has this personal journey shaped your approach to NIL and the work you're doing now?
Well, if I didn't know better, I'd say I was made to be an NIL coach. It was kind of something that started way back when I was young. My parents were teachers, educators. My father was a junior high gym teacher, coached some high school sports, but athletics was always a part of our life. And it was during those early years that he gave me the first principle of our business. And that is, how do you use athletics to better your life? Can you create educational opportunities, social, professional, community opportunities? How can you take that? And look, I always say this with this caveat, Coach, and the caveat is you could do it other ways. You could do it through math and science and music and art and fashion and cooking. There's lots of ways to turn a passion into career opportunities. For me, it was sports, and it became my life's passion, my life's work. And then once the ball stops bouncing, when your career is over, which it is for everyone at some point, even Tom Brady had to stop playing at some point, right?
Right.
The second principle of our business, coach, is how do you use athletics to better the lives of the people around you? How do you make a difference? How do you create opportunities for others when your when your athletic career is over? And so if you think about my young experience with my dad and all of my athletic experience, and then my family and community experience, it fits perfectly into what we do today.
Oh, great. So the NIL is a hot topic for everybody right now. Everybody's talking about it. And it seems like it gets more and more complicated every season, every football season, basketball season, whatever season comes up. It just seems like it gets more and more complicated. Now, you're an author of NIL for All, a quick 30-minute guide. So why do you think this topic is so critical for all student athletes and not just for the 2% who usually, gets the spotlight?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it takes a little bit of a going back in time to get the answer. So we know that name, image, and likeness was finally approved by the NCAA July 1st, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It had been talked about, it had been argued, it had been discussed for many years, but eventually the pressures from legal action, specifically the Ed O'Banion, the basketball player from UCLA, who filed the lawsuit saying that college basketball video game was using his name, image, and likeness without his permission and without compensation. He sued and eventually won, along with some other lawsuits that forced the NCAA to say, okay, we can't fight this. This is inevitable. And then on July 1st, 2021, they removed all restrictions. Now, we have to understand the history of sports in the United States. Professional athletes as endorsers, as sponsors, as influencers has been going on back to Babe Ruth. He promoted products, right? And Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra and Jackie Robinson and all the great athletes of the late 50s and early 60s. As television began to become mainstream in American households, athletes became spokespeople for brands. And the NCAA, and by the way, the U.S. Olympic Committee until almost 1992, ruled that any athlete that was being paid for his name, image, or her name, image, and likeness was deemed to be a professional and therefore ineligible to participate in NCAA sports and Olympic sports until the Dream Team in 1992. And so the history of amateur athletics has been solely based on those Olympic activities, NCAA activities, etc. So now that this was removed, it basically made everyone a potential professional athlete in the eyes of the previous administration. In other words, they could get paid for the name, image, and likeness. Now, the NCAA did not do us any favors, Coach. They created chaos by fighting and arguing about this. They created more chaos by releasing the restrictions without any guidelines or guardrails. And so what happened was, we know enough about society. You have people with money. You have people that love sports. You have people that want to win. You put that all together in a bag and you shake it and you roll it on the table, and it's called the college collective, which essentially is the booster club on steroids, which took off on July 1st, 2021. And they decided, we're going to win football games, we're going to win basketball games, etc. That, along with, simultaneously, but not in concert with, just coincidentally, was the transfer portal rules being restricted. So now you have in college athletics, in what we call the 2%, as you referred to, what we call revenue generating sports. That's football, men's and women's basketball primarily. In the revenue generating sports, you have 1-year contracts, you have free agency, and you have no salary cap. It's actually better than professional sports in terms of the athletes' opportunities. And of course, the news has sensationalized this, right? Every story is talking about the 2%ers. How much is Deion Sanders' son getting paid at Colorado, right? How much is the quarterback at Ohio State getting paid, et cetera, et cetera. When in fact, my opinion and my mission is not for those 2%ers, it's for the 98%. because the original intention of name, image, and likeness was to support all athletes and give them an opportunity to create career, life, financial opportunities for themselves. The athletes in the 2%, those revenue generating sports, are getting paid to win games, as we say, to run fast and jump high. They're not getting paid to perform on social media, community service. They're not delivering anything to the brands. They're just winning football games and basketball games. So it's kind of a long answer, but I think it's very important to understand the history and how we got to where we are today and the distinction between the 2% and the 98%.
I don't mind long answers because people need as much information as they can to be able to understand this stuff, man. Because it's like you said, it's everything they put out, they make it complicated. And can it be simple? Yes, it can be. It can be simple. For me, I think that you should get paid for your likeness. If somebody's going to put your name on something, you should get paid for it. That's just what I think. And it should be every athlete. So one question I got to ask so is for the big Power Five schools, what's this thing about um, treating their college players like employees?
So, along with the power that the athletes have gained through name, image, and likeness rights, now we have a bunch. Look, we always have a spectrum, right? There's the haves and the have-nots, and a lot of people in the middle, right? And so there's a lot of people that believe that athletes should be compensated as employees, not just by more money, but by things like insurance, workers' comp, disability, those types of things. And it's a very complicated issue, one which, quite honestly, I don't have an opinion, but I can tell you some of the pros and cons. So the athletes and their representatives, typically bargaining units known as unions, would like to have employees, right? And why does a union want an employee base? Because they're going to make more money. So let's just be honest about how that's being driven. So the advantage might be that they get some more privileges, much as the American worker has through collective bargaining and now, lots of government controls. The negative is, though, that, now think of a football team. All of them are employees. What are the hours they can work? Is there overtime? Who gets fired? Who gets hired? Who pays for all of this? Right? Then now you have, workers' comp, FICA, taxes, all kinds of administrative costs. Is this really where we want college athletics to go? I don't know the answer, but those are some of the questions being talked about. So athletes as employees is a very slippery slope, and it's yet to be determined where that's going to head. Because the second and last part of all of that is what's the definition of an employee? And that's where the courts are now, and the National Labor Relations Board is actually reviewing that as we speak.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out how that's going to affect somebody's scholarship. Also, like is it year by year, which most scholarships are now like, and I think it's because in part of the NIL and the transfer portal. So I know some coaches that I talk about not being able to build relationships with their players no more, especially at the D1 level because of the transfer portal and the NIL. Like you're not getting the bag at Albany, you're not getting the top bag at Albany, but if your first year at Albany you averaging 25 points a game, and you decide to transfer to Ohio State, you know what I mean? Because you transfer only to get a bigger bag. You know what I mean? It's not to win a championship because you want a bigger bag. So to me, the downside of it is that instead of working on your skills, which got you the bag, because after you get the bag, you ain't going. In order for you to keep that bag, you still got to have good skills. For most people, once they get the bag, like anybody else, it's going to lack on. I need to work harder. I need to work harder to keep the bag. So to me, that's the downside to me is that okay, I'm at one school that's not a real that's a mid-major D1, but that's so when I start thinking about NIL, I'm not getting paid that much here, and I'm the best player here. So now I go to transfer to Ohio State. You know what I mean? I'm still the best player. Now I got a bigger bag. So smaller schools lose out on their best players like that. So what do you think about
Well, let's make sure we keep it separate here now. So we started talking about employees. I think the transfer portal and NIL money that you're talking about, the bag is what Deion Sanders refers to as the money bag. That has nothing to do with being an employee. Okay, that's a separate issue. So the employee issue we discussed. The transfer and movement of athletes from goes both ways, by the way. There's D1 guys that aren't getting time that now say, you know what, if I go to Albany, I can average 25 points and I'll start, because they're at Ohio State at the end of the bench and never touch the floor, right? So it can go both ways, right? But obviously we talk about the mid-majors going up because it typically is involved with money these days. So, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for those coaches. They have to recruit out of high school. They have to recruit to retain their athletes, and they have to look at the transfer portal regularly to see what athletes may or may not fit into their program that they want to bring in. And you see a lot of coaches getting out of basketball. It's reported that Jay Wright at Villanova got out because of that. It's been, surmised that Coach K at Kentucky got out of it, that Coach Saban got out of football at Alabama because of it, or in large part because of it. And I don't know that. I don't know those gentlemen, but you could see why it would be frustrating, especially to an older coach, right? An old school coach that's used to doing it a different way. And look, I do believe this too, Coach Q, is, life is about a pendulum, right? And it swings back and forth. And right now it's swung all the way to the crazy side. But not all of those kids transferring to Ohio State, to use your model, are going to see the floor, are going to last more than a year. And I think we're going to come back to the middle, and people are going to realize that, it's not all about money. It's not all about playing at the biggest school, even though there's a lot of social pressure to do that. But I think that hopefully common sense will fit in and experience. And we'll see a lot, unfortunately, of kids that their transfers don't work out. And hopefully the rest of them learn from that.
Yeah, it's big. I don't know. It's big. So you talk about the 5 crucial pillars in NIL education. And I think you touched on this a little bit: personal branding, influencer relations, tax, legal compliance, community service, philanthropy, financial literacy. Could you break down why each of those pillars are so important for young athletes?
Well, remember now we're talking about the 98%. So the kids that are not getting paid to run fast and jump high. So they are going to potentially enter into NIL deals with little or no experience, with who knows what advice or advisors giving them information. And so my mentality and my philosophy is, let's equip them with as much information as possible. So let's say you're the mid-major basketball player at Albany. And, there's some NIL money coming from a collective. But really, you have to, leverage your athlete as a celebrity position to create some NIL opportunities. So these 5 pillars are the pillars that I believe, through my life experience and through my experience as an athlete, as a dad, as a coach, as a community servant, are the most important 5 foundational pillars that every athlete should at least have an understanding of. Digital marketing. 80% of NIL deals are based on social media. Okay. So if you know how to create content, if you know how to tell a story, if you know how to build a brand that people resonate with, you have an advantage. So that's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is then how do you take that celebrity brand and leverage it, right? 60% of NIL deals are with local businesses. So think about your local pizza shop or Jersey Mike's or Chipotle or the dry cleaner or the landscaper or the car wash, okay? Once you have a brand, once you have a following, once you've built a reputation, how do you leverage that? How do you talk to those businesses? So that's pillar 2. Pillar 3 is, what does the contract look like? What are net payment terms? What is intellectual property? What are lifetime rights? What are the obligations? What are the exit clauses, right? What's the cancellation clauses? You should know that, because unfortunately, a lot of kids, they're being advised by Uncle Johnny, who's a real estate attorney. He's not a contracts attorney, right? He's not an influencer marketing attorney. He doesn't know, he's trying to do the right thing, but Uncle Johnny doesn't know. So that's 3. Pillar 4 is community service and philanthropy. And this is in honor of my father, the great community servant that he was. He taught us how to use that to build a brand and create relationships. And so community service and philanthropy is pillar 4. Pillar 5 is the final pillar of our book and our program, and that is financial literacy. If you're successful at the first 4, hopefully you got a little money in the bank. And how do you leverage that and make that a long-term, success story.
Investments. I mean,
Well, just understand. Yeah, that's it. Just understand what interest
Right.
rates are.
Right.
Understand what
Right.
compounding interest is. Understand
Right.
what a bank account looks like. It's amazing how many kids are in college that never had a bank account.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing. Like I try to foster that in my kids. Like my daughter's 16, she got a little job, so I tell her like, hey, put $25 away every time you get paid. You know what I mean? So especially now, because if I knew what I knew now, back when I was her age, I would be on the beach right now somewhere and just let my money work for me right now. So if I know that, and just like what you was explaining about building your brand and stuff like that. So even with this podcast, that's what I have to do. I have to try to build a brand so I can get more sponsorships, so I can grow my podcast even more. I'm just doing well right now. I got one sponsor right now that's helping me out, but it's like a trade for trade type thing. They do pay me, but and it works good. It works good with my brand and their brand because they're a rehab facility for sports. So it works really good together. So we partnership together with a lot of things. So it puts me out there and it puts them out there. So so I understand that part of building a brand. And I think a lot of kids, like you said, are on social media trying to build their brand up and things like that to get ready for they're really trying to understand that because that's what it is right now. That's how you get that bag, like Dion said. That's how you get that bag. You got to learn how to build your brand. But with that, I think skills goes down because now you're more focused on the brand instead of the skill. If you know what I mean.
Well, isn't life about balance? I don't care if it's athletics and academics. I don't care if it's college and work, right? I don't care if it's family and friends. Life is about time management. Life is about balance. Life is about prioritizing things. I hear that, and I understand that people are worried about that, but I don't believe it. I think it's an excuse. There's 24 hours in the day. If you want to, you can do it. You may have an excuse, but how many kids are sitting on the couch playing video games when they say that?
Games,
right?
Exactly. Because again, I wake up because I don't work during the summer because I'm an educator. So I go back to work in 2 weeks. So my whole summer was 8:00 in the morning from 5:00 in the evening, working on something that involves my podcast, which is if it's creating a video, editing videos, doing my social media stuff. I'm down here in my room right now from 8 to 5:00 until my wife walks through that door. You know what I mean? Once she walks through that door, I might still be down here for a little while longer because she might be working on her real estate stuff. But I always tell my kids that like you gotta manage your time. Like especially if you want to play college basketball. I said start now. Start learning how to manage your time. Get a journal, calendar, or whatever. You can do both. Right? If you wanna go out there and try to, build your brand, you can do that from 8 to 10:00 in the morning. Come to workouts at 12. Go back out and build your brand when I come back to workouts, later on in the evening. It's possible, but it's up to you. And like you said, a lot of kids, they're not built like that. A lot of them that really, if the ones that really want it, does it. The ones that say, I want to do it, you don't really want to. So,
but life has always been that way. There's always been the doers and the don't, and the doubters. And it's not for everyone. NIL is not for everyone. That sacrifice is not for everyone. To bring it kind of home, look at Kobe Bryant and the Mamba mentality. There's only one Kobe, right?
One.
Everyone knew what he was doing. He told you what he's doing. He told you how committed he was, but he was the only one. Not everybody can be Kobe.
Yeah, not everybody can stay in the gym and do the same thing over and over and over again for 5 hours. And his thing was, if you wasn't in the gym with me doing like that, don't even worry about me passing you the ball in a basketball game because I'm not passing you the ball because you're not as dedicated as me, and I don't trust you to try to help us win a game. So that's how he was. So I love how you emphasize that the NIL skill and life skill, you know, that every athlete can benefit from. So how do you see these skills helping athletes, not just in sports but in life after sport?
Well, if you think about the 5 pillars that I just talked about, they're probably things that every young person should understand.
Hmm.
The future of American business is based on marketing, right? We're at the golden age of social media marketing, influencer marketing, marketing, online sales, e-commerce. I don't care if it's clothing, shoes, jewelry, furniture, advertising on TV. So the video digital marketing world is part of every business. Understanding how business works in the influencer relationship. Everybody that's going to be in a professional position should understand some of the terms in a contract that they need, that they should look at. Now, we're not
Hmm.
going to teach anybody to be a lawyer. I am not an attorney, but I know the basic things to look out for that you could at least ask people about. Okay.
Right.
Community service is just, one of those things that, we should give back. Those of us that have benefited from this great adventure called athletics, we should pay it forward a little bit. And there isn't a young person or an old person probably that shouldn't have some financial literacy education. So if you think about it, NIL is just the excuse. It's the platform that we're using to teach this,
Hmm.
but they
Hmm.
really, truly are life skills. And I think to answer your question is so many kids today have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. They have a
Right.
spirit for wanting to start something, whether it's, making music, making clothes, working on cars, collecting things, starting an online business. These are, important skills towards that. And then think about the networking, coach. If you tell your story properly and if you share your vision for what you want to do, people will be attracted to you. Potential
Hmm.
job employers, interns, career. Your digital resume is your social media platform. And
Right.
so, you can separate yourself from the other people in the resume pile on the desk. You can jump right to the top by showing some maturity, showing some accomplishment in the area of building a brand and running your own business.
Yeah, I think that's one reason why my sponsor. That's what he told me. He's like, I like everything all your social media stuff and everything that you do. It tells your story, and your story is in the things that you have all on your social media is what our brand is all about. You know what I mean? So it,
Perfect.
like I always tell my players, no matter you can email because I tell my players to email coaches. Like you can email 200 coaches, but it don't even take one coach to believe in you. It only take that one coach to believe. Tell that coach your story, and because you can tell 1,000 people your story, but you only need one of them to believe in that story. Just like you said. So I really like that. So you're the president and CEO of Sports Studio and the founder of the Player NIL platform. Can you share some of the exciting work you're doing through those platforms to educate and inspire young athletes?
Yeah, so I spent from 2008 into 2022 in Los Angeles running a sports and entertainment company.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we created what we call scripted sports content for the NFL, NBA, MLB, and all of the brands that use sports to tell stories in commercials, TV
Mm-hmm.
shows, and movies. So
Wow.
we produced all of the content in Hollywood. As I like to tell people, we didn't do car chases. We didn't do boy kisses girl. We didn't, we did, someone hits a home run, someone strikes out. Someone makes a
Mm-hmm.
basket, someone misses a basket. Someone scores a touchdown, someone gets sacked, right? Those are all different stories within their sport.
Right.
And so it was there that I really learned about marketing. We did 1,300 projects a year. I worked with every athlete that you see on television producing those commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned about agents and agencies and marketing and branding. I learned about sponsorship. I learned about group licensing. So really a great foundation for the Players NIL. We sold that business in June of 21. Just so happened NIL was approved in July of 21, as we said.
Right.
So I spent some time trying to figure out, was there a place for me in this space? I did not want to be an agency. I did not want to be an agent. I don't want to take money from kids. I don't want to get in the middle of their deals. I thought the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that was missing much like I'd seen in Hollywood, was education. And I didn't want young people to be taken advantage of by adults. And so that's why I created the Players NIL. And today I'm happy to tell you that we're the leading life skills curriculum in the NIL space. And we've serviced thousands of athletes around the country, and we're changing lives.
Wow, that's truly amazing. And I like the part about I don't want to, you know, take money from kids because that's the same thing. That's how I felt when I started my AAU team. Like, because a lot of AAU teams out here charging kids a whole lot of money, and they're really not getting their just due for it. So when I tell people how much I charge, they be like, "Yo, that's really low." I said because when I was growing up, I didn't have to pay to play basketball. So I know, like, in this era that you do need some type of funds, you know, to make sure these kids are getting as much exposure as other kids. But I raise money. I raise $10,000 every year to help my AAU team. So my parents only paid $500 to play basketball, and that's to travel and everything. And we raised money. All the money we raised, it went right back to the kids. None of my coaches got paid. My parents understood that some of the money would be for the coaches' hotels and stuff when they go away, but no money went in none of my coaches' pockets. Only thing that we took care of was our coaches' hotels when we went away and travel stuff. When we went away, we fed the kids and everything. So everything we raised went right back to the kids. So when people hear that, they be like, "Well, I'm at this you place and I'm paying $2,000, $3,000, and I don't get it. I don't get as much as you get those kids. Like my kids got everything. Every other they got uniforms, warm up suit, tennis shoes, and I wasn't backed by no tennis shoe, uh, Nike or Adidas or Under Armour. I wasn't backed by none of that. I was just I was backed by people that believed in me and the parents that believed because they saw the value in what I was giving, and it wasn't just about money and winning because I could care less about winning the basketball. It was about development. And if you go back and look at, because a lot of my girls has been on my podcast, if you go back and hear them talk about, they would tell you we didn't. It wasn't really about basketball. It was about the family environment of it. And like I said, I never charged that much, and I still don't charge that much after all these years. My payments are still the same, no matter how
Right.
much stuff went up. Okay, I still don't. So I really appreciate you saying that, um, and really appreciate that you're being honest about why you do this. And I really think I really think that there's a lot of other people that need, it, especially for kids. Because like you say, like I don't like adults taking advantage of kids. It's kind of sickening to me that you would take advantage of a kid and their parent just to make some money. For that's an ego thing to me. I don't know. But I really appreciate that, and I think that's a good thing. So we on the same page with that. I really like. And I can tell because when I asked you to come on, you was like, yeah, I'm in. So I really appreciate that. So let's talk about the impact of NIL on college athletes as a whole. What challenges have you observed? I know we probably talked about this a little bit. Where did you think it's headed at in the next few years and things like
Yeah. So, I mean, as we talked about, you throw a bunch of money at a young kid that's not educated and not being managed properly, what's going to happen, right? Chaos will ensue, right?
that?
Mismanagement of funds, maybe they're not working as hard in the gym
Mm-hmm.
because they got paid, right?
Yep.
Maybe they're hanging out with the wrong people because they're flashing their money. Like, there's lots of things when young people get too much too soon, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
power, control, money. So there's a risk. And again, more reason why, I work with colleges and coaches and administration officials in college to try and bring education so that these kids realize that, you get $50,000 at age 20 with a full scholarship, plus Alston education money, $6,000,
Mm-hmm.
plus a stipend for living. That's life-changing opportunity.
Right.
If you give 50 grand to a 20-year-old and he or she properly invests that, and hangs on to it, by the time they're 40, they're going to be ahead of a lot of people,
Right.
and 50,000 is kind of like the median now. Like, this, I think they came out this week and said that the median or the median football payment was like $80,000 this year, right?
Gee.
That's 1 year, by the way. That's 1 year.
Right.
Okay,
1
so
year.
multiply it by 3 or 4 years or 5. So you could easily come up with a nice little nest egg at age 22 of a couple $100,000 for these Power 4 revenue generating sports.
Right.
But again, I'm focused on the 98%. Let's talk about, the kid that's making $500 a month as a D3 athlete. Your daughter's thinking about going to McDaniel College. There's no athletic scholarships in D3, right? You have
Nope.
financial aid, you have academic, you have grants. But for her to make $500 a month on her social media NIL program would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be huge. That's a lot of money. And maybe it prevents, having to take out a loan. Maybe it's the extra, better computer so they can get their homework done faster or something like that. Maybe it is, a trip in the summer where you get to go away for a week to someplace that's cool and get a life experience.
Right.
So, I think money too soon without supervision is definitely a challenge. We already talked about, these athletes that are all they're doing is chasing money, and how that's bad for team chemistry and how that's bad for coaches and the retention. So there's a lot of negativity associated with college athletics today. I'm here to tell you, though, it gets blamed on name, image, and likeness, but it's not. It's pay for play, transfer portal, those kind of collectives, booster clubs, paying kids. Real NIL is making a difference in a positive way. And I can list hundreds of kids that we've worked with that are changing their lives and creating lifelong opportunities. We say, Coach Q, that NIL should not be a 4-year thing. It should be a 40-year thing. This should be something that creates a lifelong prospect of opportunity. And so, we're focused and we're here to tell you about all the kids that are doing it the right way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I always thought that it was always something about college sports. Before the NIL came, it wasn't never right. Far as monetizing these kids and stuff like that. I don't blame everything on NIL. I just think that, like you said, that this brought certain people out the woodworks once it came out, and what I'm saying. So now everybody just throwing money at everybody. What I'm saying, like you say, to play the pay to play and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's good, and this is why I wanted to have somebody on to really explain to people, like, this NIL thing is just not about you playing basketball. Of course, like you said, it's not a 4-year, it's a 40-year thing where this can act done the right way. This can actually help you long term, for the rest of your life if it's done the right way. So I really appreciate you talking about that. So you work with hundreds of professionals and college athletes. What common challenges do you see them facing with NIL? How does your program help address these challenges?
Well, as we said, first of all, let's be clear. NIL is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be on social media. Not everyone wants to be, an influencer or marketing. But everyone should use a platform like LinkedIn, a professional networking opportunity. And so we teach kids how to use that and create, all kinds of networking opportunities, right? So I think the challenges are, time management, as we said, right? It's content creation, takes time, the creativity of it, the management of it, the editing. I mean, you produce a podcast. How much do you put into editing and promoting it? You just said it's basically a full-time job for you, right? And so there's those challenges. I think there's the locker room chemistry. If you're making money and no one else is, is there jealousy involved? The transfer portal situation, your relationship with your coach and your school. We worry about compliance issues. Are you following the guidelines and the rules? Are you going to become ineligible? Are you going to jeopardize the eligibility of your team? And those kinds of legal and compliance issues are a challenge. So it's not without pitfalls. It's not a perfect system. As I said, the NCAA did us no favors by just opening up Pandora's box or letting the genie out of the bottle, whatever phrase you want to use. I'm hoping that we're going to get some more guidelines, get some more consistency, and that kids will realize that they need to structure their efforts a little bit more in order to be successful in this space.
Yeah, I know here in Maryland, especially for high school kids, like if they have an NIL deal with somebody, they cannot wear it during the game.
Right.
Like they feel like they got an NIL deal with a clothing line and they make headbands, they cannot wear it during the game. They can't wear nothing during the game. They only can wear it after. They can't wear it in practice. They can't wear it no activity. So my thing is, if we're allowing kids to have NIL deals and stuff like that, why can't they promote it during that game? You know what I mean? Because that's when most people gonna see you with the stuff on, unless you walk around the school with whatever brand you have on all day. But you're playing football, so you should be able to wear whoever's, you got the NIL deal. You should be able to wear a wristband with whatever's on it, or the headband with whatever on it. I can see not having it, being able to put on your jersey, unless you got somebody sponsoring the school. But even with that, that's a no in Maryland. You can't have
Yeah, I
sponsorship.
think there's a couple rules that are consistent. So that is one: on-field apparel.
Right.
Two is you can't wear your school uniform in social media content where you're getting paid, and you
Right.
can't shoot it on school grounds. Those are kind of the
Right.
basic rules. And look,
Mhm.
I'm guess I'm a little bit old school. I would disagree with you. I think that there should be licensing restrictions. I mean, even in the NFL, you can only wear on field brands that are official partners of the NFL, right? What was it, Terrell Owens, that used to get in trouble for wearing the wrong thing all the time,
Right.
And so that's just, and look, from a discipline standpoint and a team standpoint, we don't want individuals on the football team. We want everybody to be the same. One wear the socks the right way, one wear the uniform, same color helmets. I think there's some traditional values there that are important. So, I think those are actually good rules, in my opinion.
No, I think they're good rules. I'm just saying, like a headband or a wristband, something like that. Not the, I don't know if I can't have like Nike on everybody uniform, then we're not getting Nike uniform. I'm just talking
Right.
about if I got a headband on, I'm in basketball practice, with a headband on, something like small like that, not the whole uniform. So we on agreement with that. 'Cause, like even with my uniforms, I tell people like, well, why you not buying Nike apparel? I said, why would I buy Nike? They ain't paying me. Like, no, my kids get uniforms from this place where I get uniforms from. That, and when you feel the material, like, so my school used to play in Nike uniforms, right, or Under Armour, but I think it was Nike. So when I brought the uniforms that I get from my AAU team, and I took it to my AD, and because he was like, "Do you want to get new uniform?" So I was like, "Yeah," but I was like, "I know I can get it from cheaper, but and better material." And I took it to him. He was like, "Yo, this is like better material than what our Nike uniforms are." So people used to ask me, you ain't gonna get the Nike ones?" I'm like, "No, they not paying me to. No, why am I gonna wear your name on my uniforms? No, I'm gonna put my logo on the uniform, and that's how we gonna rock. I'm not putting no Nike, no Under Armour stuff on nobody's uniform when they ain't paying me. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not on a Nike circuit. Why would I wear their stuff? I'm not on Under Armour
Plus, you pay
circuit.
you pay a lot of money for that swoosh too.
Right, right. I'm not. No, I'm not. Yeah, I pay a lot of money for that swoosh when I can get it for cheaper with the same type of material from somewhere else. That material is better. I mean, my uniforms last a long time. I got a kid that I used to coach. He's 17 now. I used to coach him when he was 6. He still got the uniform from when he was 6 years old, and it still look brand new. It still look brand new, not faded, nothing. Been washed 1,000 times, like nothing. So I'm like, nah, I ain't doing it. But yeah, we on the same page as far as I want everybody on my team to look alike, with same likeness, same everything. I was just saying like a little headband and watch or something, whatever. They can't, wear stuff like that because in high school, everybody not gonna have a Nike headband on. You can see people on the basketball court with different like brands, a Nike headband and stuff like that. Um, I think a lot of high schools are cracking down on that now, where you can't really wear like like they told me last year that I can't have certain many logos on our uniform. And that's our school logo. So you only be able to have, I think, like 2 instead of 3. Because I had one on the shorts, one in the back, and I think it was one on the front logo. So the ref was like, "Did anybody tell you?" I said, "No, ain't nobody. say nothing about that. We've been doing it. We've been doing this a whole year. And this one we was in playoffs when he said something about it. So I was like, well, we've been doing this a whole year. He was like, oh, okay. I guess they okay with it. But I don't know. I don't know. But so when NIL began such a new landscape, right? So what advice would you give to student athletes, their families, coaches, who are just starting to navigate these wants?
Yeah, well,
These
educate
waters.
yourself. I think educate yourself, right? We just talked about what are the rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compliance issues. That's one area that you need to educate yourself with, and learn how to build your brand, and tell your story, what your authentic story is, who are you? So we try to make NIL in the book, NIL for All. We try to make it 2 words, Coach: relatable and attainable.
Right.
So if you're going to go play Division III basketball at McDaniel College in Maryland, you can't relate to the quarterback at Ohio State, right?
Right.
Like two totally different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And what that quarterback at Ohio State is going to earn is not attainable for the Division III athlete at McDaniel College, right?
Right.
So relatable and attainable. So what is realistic, right? Let's manage the expectations. But let's look out as far as we can. This is my advice. Look into the future as far as you can see. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of job do you want? Who's going to be your partner? Do you want to have kids? Where do you want to live? Do you want to own a house? Do you want to own a boat? And then work backwards. What's it going to take to get there?
Right.
And we advise people to start building their brand and creating NIL platform content in high school, juniors in high school, age 16 and above. Whether you're going to monetize that in high school or not, it takes time to build a brand. Look how long it's taken you to build your following and tell your story. It just doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistency. It takes content. It takes, all kinds of work and effort. And so, look as far ahead as you can, work backwards, build your plan, and start early and think about the future and be patient is the last thing I would say. You're not going to do it overnight unless you're that Power 4 revenue generating athlete and the hurricane is going to come in and sweep you up and give you a big bag.
Right, a big bag. All right, so it's one thing that I wanted to ask, and if you have any expertise in it. So now that the Power Fives, D1 schools, athletes get the most money for NIL, right? Do you think, and this is the opinion, do you think that D3 and D2 schools should offer scholarships now, athletic scholarships? Because it's like, come on.
Well, so let's, I have this conversation often with people about, who deserves to get paid and who doesn't. And there's been a battle going on for a long time between men's and women's sports, for instance, right? And Serena Williams kind of led the charge to get equal pay in tennis, which is great. And I understand that. But it's a business. The WNBA right now is going through a revolution with Caitlin Clark and, all these rookies. Yeah, Angel Reese, all these rookies that are coming in. And everyone wants them to get paid like NBA players. Just hold on. Do you understand how a business works, right? There's sales or revenue, there's cost, and that when you take one from the other, it's called profit. And the WNBA, for instance, the history is it's been supported by the NBA and others. It hasn't generated the media contracts to generate that revenue. I think college athletics is the same way. Non-revenue sports are exactly what that means. The sports don't generate money. The school, it's an expense. It's a cost. Now, thank goodness the schools value that, right? They think that it's part of the athlete experience, part of their branding, part of their culture, part of what makes going to school fun. And they invest in that, just like they do in new libraries, science labs, cafeterias, dormitories. They invest in athletic programs. So should D2 and D3 get athletic scholarships? It's a business question, Coach. Where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? Right? And so, but remember, I'll take that D2 or D3 athlete and teach them the life skills of the players NIL. And they may not get a scholarship, but they can make some money. And they can create all of the opportunities that they want if they follow my curriculum.
Yeah, because I'm in a small town. I'm the best player on court, and I kind of get pizza shop every day. Like, you know what I mean? Hey, look, I can promote your pizza shop if you pay me $200. You know, such and such, like that. So yeah, that's how I got my sponsorship. I started emailing places into my businesses in my area that deals with youth sports, like
Sure.
orthopedics, doctors, offices, and stuff like that. Um, um, like athletic places and rehab places and
Sure.
stuff like that. That's how I got
Yeah.
my deal. I'm like, let me email these local places and see if we can partner up.
Sure.
That's how I got my first,
Yeah.
sponsorship by my partnership by doing that. So that's
And look,
a great idea.
that's a business relationship. They're
Right,
betting, they're paying you to drive traffic to their store. If you don't do that, they're not going to pay you anymore.
right,
That's the way life works, right?
right.
So, what we teach you is in that local pizza shop scenario, how to build your content, how to create your followers, and how to drive traffic to that pizza shop, right? That's what we do in our influencer relation section.
And that's great. That's great. A lot of my kids and a lot of these kids around the nation needs to hear this because I think it'll make it for an even playing field. Also,
Hmm.
even like you say, even if you're not getting that big bag, right now you can build up to that in the future. Like you said, it should be a lifetime plan and not just a 4 year, 3 year, 2 year college plan. It should be a lifetime
Yeah,
plan. So I think what you're
yeah,
doing is really inspiring and wonderful. Um, and it opened my eyes up to a lot of things. Even this conversation about stuff that I'm doing. Um, I think it's real. I think it's just like it's just so wonderful that somebody is out there that's really for the kids, especially dealing with NIL, because there's a lot of people that's not. There's a lot of people that just see NIL and just see dollar signs. Um, AAU basketball, like youth sports, is a $50 billion a year business. It almost generate more money than NBA. Um, you gotta think about it. You go to tournaments. Parents are paying for the whole weekend $100 and something to see their kid play basketball. Then that's just to get in and parking. You know what I mean? So, and just imagine you got your kids, you got your husband, you got two little kids, and all y'all got to pay $75 for the whole weekend to get in to watch your kid play basketball. If you don't tell me
hmm
that's a money grab, that is a money grab. A real
hmm
money grab. Like that is crazy to me. And you got to pay for parking. Then when you get in, they got venues. You got to pay $15 for a hot dog. Like it's it's they're exploiting the youth, like at its highest level. And I don't. I really appreciate people like you that is not doing it. That really want to educate the kids on the right things about the NIL and show them a better way that it can really affect their whole life, not
yeah.
just one part of the quarter of their life or one part of their life. So I really appreciate you doing that.
Great. Thank you.
Really. So before we wrap up, I know you're passionate about community service and philanthropy, and as part of the NIL education. So can you say why this is such a critical component of what you teach?
Yeah. So this really, I didn't realize that I'd learned it from my father until he passed away in 2021. And in writing his eulogy, this was a junior high gym teacher, never employed anyone, never
Mm,
ran for public office, never owned a business,
mm,
um, but was incredibly committed to his community through his church, Habitat for Humanity, the hospital, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at age 86, 500 people came to his funeral, right?
wow.
And the word that brought tears to my eyes, Coach, at the time was the word legacy. And I challenge people today, and I want to say this as gently as possible, but I also want to get your attention. If you stop doing what you're doing today, would anyone care tomorrow? If you
Right.
disappeared, if you stopped playing sports, who are you? What is it that people recognize you for?
Mm,
And if you take the thing away that you that people recognize you for. Is there anything else? Is there any balance in your life? Have you changed anyone's life? Have you left it in a better place? And the greatest example I can give you is coming up on 2 years ago now. You remember the football player for the Buffalo Bills that had a medical event on the field, Damar Hamlin.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, he collapsed on a night game in Cincinnati. He was a Buffalo Bills defensive back.
Yep.
No one had really, outside of his friends and family, University of Pittsburgh and Buffalo fans, no one had ever heard of Damar Hamlin. I certainly hadn't, and I'm a huge football fan.
Right.
He was in the NFL, so we probably, should give him credit, all the credit that we can give him for doing that. He had this medical event. No one knew who he was. All of a sudden, the stories came out about who he was as a person, not as a football player.
Right.
He had started a charity in high school and through his days in Pittsburgh, in the University of Pittsburgh, of giving toys to kids at Christmas. And when this event happened, I think it was November or December, it was towards the latter part of the season, it came out that he had been trying to raise $2,500 to give toys away at Christmas to needy children. They ended up, when that story came out, raising $10 million.
Wow.
$10 million.
Wow.
Why? Because people saw him as a person. They respected him. They saw his commitment to the community. Community service and philanthropy is our fourth pillar because, number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, it's a great way to meet people, connect. And number three, it's a great way to build your brand.
Right.
That's the answer to that question.
All right. Wow, that story is amazing, and that's a perfect example of an underdog. Like somebody, like nobody knew what he was doing. He was doing everything. He kept working behind the scenes and stuff like that, putting his head down, just working and helping people out. Nobody knew about that. That's the perfect example of an underdog. And that's what I try to tell my kids, like, just keep working. And no matter what anybody think, just do the right thing, and people will start noticing. As long as you're doing the right thing and working hard at it, people will notice you. And I had a conversation with somebody on a past podcast about, and I think it was one of my girls about, I said, everything that I do for y'all, I don't do it for my ego. I don't do it for money. I train half of y'all for free, absolutely free. Like, I don't want to get rich off of y'all. I just want to make sure that you're able to do what you love doing. And in any way I can help, I'm going to help you. Not for money, and they all know, not for money. I said, but the only thing I want you to do for me is to give back, pay it forward, right? And I talked about when I passed away, and I said, that's what I want people to remember me as, someone that gave and didn't care about anything else. Like, didn't care about the fame, because I can care less about the fame. I started this because of my book. Like, I wrote a book about my girls and how they was the underdog, and I just embodied all of them into one girl, and me as being the figure in the book as the mentor to that girl. So that's how I mentored my girls. There was a lot of girls I had that started playing basketball that nobody else wanted to develop them. And their parents was like, can you just develop our girls and put them on the same team and just help them? And I was like, sure. And that's how everything got started. So when we was talking about that, I said, that's all I want. I said, when I leave this earth, that's all I want. I want, when somebody say, because I've been at a lot of funerals. So when somebody say, can somebody come up here to talk? I don't want it to be a hesitation. And I don't want you to talk about me as me being this dude with a lot of money and all. I want you to, when you come up here to talk, I want you to be able to feel in your heart that he was the person that really helped me get to where I needed to go with no questions asked, and he didn't want nothing at all. He just wanted to help. That's it.
Well, that's why we use the word legacy, right? It's how you're going to be remembered tomorrow if you disappeared today. How will you be remembered?
Right. That's all that matters, man. If you ain't remembered for nothing, you ain't did nothing on this earth. You ain't do nothing on this earth at all, but just took up space. If people ain't talking about you like that, you just took up space because you're supposed to be able to help out each other. So, I mean, that's just how I say. I do. Money don't motivate me to do stuff that to help out other people. It don't motivate me to do that at all. Because even when I tell my girls when they're playing basketball, I say just work and do it the right way, and somebody will find you. Right? If you're that good, you keep on working hard, somebody will find you, man. Somebody will find you. Just like you said, be patient. Like you said, be patient. So, well, it it's been fantastic having you on the show. Your insight was invaluable, and I really appreciate that. I know our listeners will take a lot from this, and hopefully it'll help them out. Um, for those who want to dive deeper, where can they find your book NIL for All and learn more about Players NIL?
Thank you. The Players NIL is our website, theplayersnil.com, and we have some free content on there. I have blog posts and podcasts myself. There's lots of free information. NIL for All is my book. It's on Amazon. You can just Google that. It's a $20 read. It's paperback. It takes about 30 minutes. Anyone that's thinking about beginning their NIL journey, wants to learn what it takes to do that, I highly recommend the book. It's a great way to make NIL relatable and attainable for everyone. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate the opportunity to promote that, and hopefully we can change some lives together.
Yeah, I will make sure I put all that in the description, the stuff, and post it on my social media. Also, because like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, your underdog story, if I can say, and all the things that you mentioned on here and taught us today about NIL. I really appreciate that. So thanks again, Mark, for coming on. And to our listeners, remember, harness the power of your name, image, and likeness, not just in sports, but for everyday aspect of your life. All right, so stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Right here on Full Court Dreams, the Underdog Voice, and y'all know who I am, and I will always be your coach, Que, and I'm out.